Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park. Sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
Fans and management of dozens of clubs are waiting in tremulous anticipation of the announcement of the new fixture list, which is released at midday tomorrow, Thursday. Pompey fans will be hoping more than most that the new list provides the Blues with a fairer start to the season than their first season back in the Championship. Usually football fans are quick to forget all about the most spectacular moments of a preceding season, but a burning sense of injustice at having to face 6 or 7 teams which were predicted to finish in the top 8 during their first 8 games of last season is something that won't go away soon. Although Pompey began the season with some promising performances against Leeds and Middlesbrough, the constant strain of playing borderline Premier League clubs week in week out eventually took its toll, and Pompey slumped to the bottom of League One. Although acknowledging that there are no easy games in the Championship, Pompey fans retort that there are certainly games that are harder than others. Although many fans' eyes will be drawn to the dates of our forthcoming pair of derby days, many if not most fans will be looking at our prospects for the first 2 months of 2025 to 26.
We've booked Steve Bone for an instant reaction to the fixture list when it's published. We'll give him half an hour to chew on it, obviously, and talk to him around about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to get that early reaction. And then just date for your diary. Pompey Sound are having a holiday. Whether it's well earned or not, that's always a talking point, but we are anyway. So we're going to be away. There'll be no Pompey news, no podcasts from Friday, the whatever it is, this coming Friday. I will get the date just to be pedantic. This Friday we close things down and we're back the following Friday. So that's June the 27th to the following Friday, which is July the 4th. Okay, but in the meantime, we've got to get our heads around the fixture list. This is the beginning of the new season. I was talking to our friends at Lincoln City about this, and they agree. You can't start to really get your teeth into the idea that a new season is just around the corner until those fixture lists are published. And when they are, of course, plenty to talk about, plenty to react to. Looking forward to that game. You look forward to seeing what is going to be the date of the games that you particularly enjoy for whatever reason. As the Lincoln person was saying, she likes to work out which away games she's going to be able to get to. And because she lives quite a way away from Lincoln City's home ground, work out which home games she's going to be able to get to. So she enjoys it from that point of view. You really start to get the juices flowing once that fixture list is published. But I've gone back to last season's fixture list just to remind ourselves of how demanding was the opening period of our first season back in the Championship. We're not asking for special treatment in any way, but we think it should be fair. If there was some kind of seeding system used, then it would be difficult to seed the whole of the Championship. But look, Leeds United and Burnley were pretty much favourites to win it between them, and they did. So nobody should have been facing those two sides in the first start-up portion of that season, but we did. We had to go to Leeds United for our first game of the season, and what a game it was. We very nearly nicked it. And then we've got Luton, and Luton, having just come down from the Premier League with all that parachute money to spend, were expected by many to bounce straight back. So out of our first 2 games, unless you count an EFL Cup first round tie against Millwall, which they won, right, we've got 2 points from 2, and we've played 2 of the best sides in the Championship. And what do we do then? We go up to Middlesbrough, who are also one of the favourites to do well. And we managed to get another creditable draw there. So we're playing well. And we're getting a point here and a point there. But we're playing all these teams that are heavily fancied. Then we entertain Sunderland, ditto Sunderland. Do you remember? One of the best sides, reputedly, in the Championship. We're at home to them and they beat us 3-1. And then West Brom come and visit us, and our heads are starting to hang. Our chins are on our chest. I don't remember at the time thinking that this looks like a defeated side that we're putting out. We were playing with all our usual energy and determination and no little ability, of course. But we got turned over by West Brom 3-0 at home. And then we went to Burnley, who turned out to be one of the teams of the season in the Championship. And one suspects that they'll do very well in the Premier League next season. And they nicked it off us 2-1. Up to that point, we'd only played, really speaking, top sides in the Championship. And we got no wins, and I think it's 3 draws. And we're just about propping up the Championship. Now, you have to be extremely resilient as an individual to be attached to a club in any capacity that has made a start to the season like that. But the acid question is, to what extent was that indifferent start to the season down to the simple unfairness of the way the fixtures lined up for us in those first couple of months? It is a factor. You can argue until you're blue in the mouth how big a factor it was, but it was a factor. We would have been in a better place, literally in the table, but also emotionally, mentally, confidence-wise, if we'd had a couple of mid-table sides projected to finish mid-table, and sides that were projected to struggle. And we all knew who they were. We figured that Oxford would struggle. We figured that Plymouth would struggle. And both of them did not flourish in the league that season. And we didn't get any of those sorts of games. Like I said, there are no juicy, easy 3-pointers anywhere in the Championship, unless, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I will, unless you're playing at home to Portsmouth, which last season was, for many, a straightforward 3-pointer. We've got to fix that. Don't know how. Don't know anybody. If anybody knows how to fix it, it's the Moose and his team. So fingers crossed. But fingers and toes crossed tomorrow that at midday, when the new season's fixtures are unveiled for us, we see that we've got some challenging matches, some not so challenging matches, and technically some not challenging matches at all. We just like to be mid-table or maybe just below mid-table after the first 8 and 10 games. Makes all the difference. So roll on tomorrow, and Steve Bone will be here as soon as the fixture list has been fully digested with his reaction. And he says he's going to be looking at the first 8 games. Then he will go on to find out when we're playing that lot up the road and start to have a think about that. So make a date. Talk to you then.
Speculation is growing that Portsmouth are about to announce an additional friendly fixture in the build-up to the coming season. The blank page in their diary at the moment is Saturday, August the 2nd, which is a full week before the first actual games of the season. Pompey has in the past benefited from having some lighter warm-up games in the first part of the closed season training, followed by a sterner test a week or so before their first game. The club's hierarchy appears to favour a visit to Fratton Park from a foreign club. Although it's anyone's guess how wide they may be casting the net, it makes sense for the visiting club not to have to travel too far, so we can presumably rule out our Australian friends. Interestingly, the Dutch season begins a week after the Championship season begins, which would mean that a Dutch side, playing in their top flight, would have 2 weeks to turn themselves round after a flight, and perhaps 1 or 2 overnights to and from Southampton Airport. Amsterdam has very good links with Southampton Airport, but fans are unlikely to learn how the costs of bringing a foreign club side to the south coast and accommodating them are met. Presuming that the friendly is of benefit to both sides, a simple 50-50 split seems possible if not probable. Everyone from the fans to Fratton Park matchday staff await with bated breath.
Yeah, and of course you want to try somehow to get a return on those investments, that cost of running a friendly. When you think about it, people have to be paid to get Fratton Park up and running. The players will be paid anyway. It's unlikely that they'll get any greater income from a Saturday playing against a Dutch side than they would do if they were at home watching the horse racing. So one can only presume that they'll want to get some money in on the gate, and if they're in profit, the two clubs, as a result of attracting a good crowd, then I guess they split the profit. If they don't get a very good crowd, then I guess they both have to make their half of the ends meet. So they'll be looking for an attractive opposition. We played Bristol City, was it the season before last? 1 week before the start of the season, and that was very successful. I think I'm right in remembering that we did not win that one, but it was a good stern test. I think we were about to embark on our title-winning season, and it sharpened us right up. So I guess on that basis, just pausing it there for a second, the friendly that we played against Gibraltar when we went to Spain for a pre-season holiday come sharpening up tough training week did not do us any favours at all. And there were reports, you may remember, of John Messino going quite ballistic on the touchline at the officials from the other club who were standing idly by whilst their players were going in studs showing and meaning it, because it was a big day for them. They were playing a big side. They were an ordinary club. All of them therefore fancied themselves that they could play at a higher level, and they wanted to make sure everybody knew it. Them, their colleagues, their club officials, and the opposition. And that didn't do Pompey any favours. I think we escaped without any injuries on that occasion, but we don't want that kind of culture again in a pre-season match. Definitely not a week to go before the season starts. The Gibraltar game, I think there was plenty of time, a few weeks anyway, for people to recover from the odd bump and bruise. So we don't want that. A nice, stylish, well-known, renowned Dutch side with a couple of pretty decent players on the verge of, or perhaps part of, their national team. That would make us feel that little bit special, as well as give our players, give everybody, a good test. So what are we going to guess? I don't know. I should know more about Dutch football, but I can't really get beyond AJAX. I'm going to go someone like Feyenoord, who have got a great reputation, and it would be a steal to get them here. Now, predicting the crowd, can't remember how many showed up for the Bristol Rovers game. I don't know if that information is to hand. If you just go and make a cup of tea, I'll tell you how many people showed up for the Bristol game. Am I going to be able to do that? These things count. It won't be part of the season ticket package, will it? So people will be paying on the day, not on the turnstile, but through the machinery. No, I can't get the numbers. But Pompey fans being Pompey fans, they will turn up in their droves, and therefore money could be made from a nice juicy friendly a week before the season with the players fine-tuned, honed to perfection, and ready to give it a go against anybody the following week but the favourites to win the championship. Thank you. John Messino is trying to get to the bottom of Jordan Williams' recurring injuries, saying,
"There's a combination of things we can do. There are going to be some obvious things we can potentially change, but I will leave that to the medical department and Jordan himself. Overall, from my point of view, all we want to do is have him available for those 46 games. That's the most important thing. That's the big priority for Jordan. Number one is to come back, be fit, and be ready to play 46 games. It's not something we are going to brush under the carpet. With any player, if there is a repeat injury, we want to make sure we get on top of it. But there's not a huge amount for me to get involved in. I pretty much leave it to the experts. I've had my own injury problems over the years. I can offer a little advice there, but beyond that, that's just anecdotal. Others are looking into it, trying to find out the answers. Jordan has done really well when he has played, and he will be back for pre-season.
We mustn't forget this guy because he could be very important to our season. We like him. He was a first-team pick for our first half dozen until he got injured in the championship, starting at right back in our first 3 or 4 games, and then being moved because we needed him at centre-back, playing against, was it Middlesbrough for sure, and Sunderland at centre-half next to Riley Towler. So that's a lightweight centre-back pairing, Towler and Williams, but they did a decent job enough. And then the injuries kicked in. When we bought him, we thought we had quite a find, somebody who could play at right back and was also good at, as they like to say, bombing forward, but could also double as a centre-half. These players are so important with so many injuries coming up, and let's move on to that. There must be a reason or a set of reasons, they may or may not be connected, as to why we've had so many injuries over the last 12 to 18 months. Other clubs, of course, report similar. So it's nothing to do with the specifics of the Fratton Park pitch or the Fratton Park regime or anything like that. There is something going on. If it has to do with diet, if players aren't getting enough collagen, and that affects the strength of the ligament and tendon tissues, which require collagen to rebuild, just like some people used to believe that if you ate fish, it would increase your brain power because fish contains some sort of structural compound that is not dissimilar from that of the brain. It doesn't seem as though that one works. One doubts whether collagen, which is medically unproven, but is to date about the only preparation that's available, and it's not cheap, for people to take to strengthen their ligaments and their tendons. Whether it's that, whether it's a look again at the fitness regime that we have at Pompey, which is no doubt as good as anybody else's. But there is a persistent question that is asked by fans, and it's worth just asking that question again, even though there's nobody there to answer. Are modern players becoming too fit for their own good? How you can be so fit that you are more likely to injure yourself is a matter for a great deal of research, intelligence and speculation, and probably at the end of the week 6 or 7 pints down the local, and you're still no nearer to working it out. There is something going on. Those of us who have been around the block a few times can well remember top flight teams going all the way through the entire season with their lineup hardly changed. Nobody would deny that those players are nowhere near the fitness levels of modern players. But if that's all there is to it, then it's conceivable that players are too fit, because although we're getting the best out of them when they're on the pitch and they're able to give 101%, or in the case of Matt Ritchie, 121%, if they're going to be out injured for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, how long was Shaughnessy out? How long has Williams been out? We can't do without these players until they come back to 121% fitness, and then we send them out there and they do the injury in again. It sounded as though John Messino is a little frustrated by all of this. It may be that his words don't sit easily in the artificial voice that we use when we bring written reports to you with a little bit of colour. But nevertheless, saying that there's not a lot he can do, he has to leave it to the other experts at Pompey. It's either the sign of a very modern approach to division of labour, I believe the economists call it, where one guy does one job and that's it, and another woman does a different job and she's entirely in charge of that. Putting people in charge of the areas that they are operating in, provided they have shown the initiative and the expertise to rise to the occasion, is an excellent and increasingly modern way of managing. And if he's bringing that to the club, that can surely only be of benefit. Gone are the days when the manager wanted to be across absolutely everything, and I believe in the case of some Pompey managers going back quite a while in time, before even my time, they literally did everything. They answered the mail, they answered the phones. And Don Revie, the legendary Leeds manager, he used to personally give his players a massage with liniment rub after a training session. That was how hands-on he literally was. That doesn't happen so much. It doesn't happen at Pompey. It's not the modern way. It's the way we want to go forward. But bottom line is, John Messino would like to know the answer to the question, why do we incur so many injuries? And so would everybody else.